around in terms of workers planning to change jobs. Why is that happening?
Absolutely. Well, I think it's driven by a number of shifts in the market. We've found in general that the two things that next-gen workers are looking for most is learning and growth opportunities and also work-life balance. So I think this blows up some of the traditional wisdom that it's all about compensation, which we're seeing it's not.
Is that something that only really plays for younger workers? I mean, clearly career progression and opportunities is going to be much more important for them. And as you progress in the workplace, other things like pay will become increasingly important.
You know what's interesting is we don't see major differences between demographics or generations in our data. Now, I will caveat that by saying the user base of The Muse is about 2/3 under age 35. So we do tend to skew people who are earlier in their career, who are looking for those learning and growth opportunities. But at the same time, we cut our user survey responses by a variety of different age groups, other demographics, and we found that really across the board, a lot of people are looking for this sort of development opportunity and for more work-life balance, and that is edging out compensation among those different groups.
I wonder how much of that, Kathryn, has to do with the fact that this is a very tight and hot labor market. So there are opportunities. Companies are desperate for workers. And also a lot of these people in the generation you mentioned haven't been through a tough labor market. I also think it's interesting that the labor market is more mobile than ever before. So we found when we asked our users how many of you would move for the right company or role, it was 89% of people said yes. And again, the factors that they're using to define what is the right company or role, it's things like the culture, the values, the employee experience, sometimes the perks and benefits as well, sometimes the company's reputation. But I think we're seeing today's workforce take a much more nuanced view of where they want to work, and then they're voting with their feet.
Well, talk to us a bit more about that point about reputation. Increasingly, they care about the overall image of the company?
Absolutely. It's one of the things that came up as the most important factor in next generation workers deciding where to work was the company's reputation. I believe it was around upwards of 80% of people said it was important or very important. But I will caveat, this isn't just the prestige of a company. It's also the reputation as evidenced by what its employees say about working there. So I think this is a really important point, right? Because companies used to be able to control their brand. And today, there are so many ways that your employees are part of how your brand is perceived in the market, whether it's through social media, through online review platforms, through places like The Muse that feature verified employee testimonials. And so all of a sudden, we're seeing that as reputation becomes more and more important, employers have a little bit less control over it.
Which sectors are the hottest right now?
It's a great question. So obviously technology roles are incredibly hot. I don't think that's going to surprise anyone. There are about 5 open engineering jobs for every developer or engineer looking for work. So anything in the technical space is incredibly hot. We're also seeing some really interesting movement in healthcare. The Muse is not necessarily a platform where you're seeing a tremendous number of doctors or nurses, but all of the other roles that are required to make these healthcare companies operate, operators, marketers, finance, etc. We're seeing some really, really interesting traction. And so I would say that we're encouraging job seekers to think outside the box of sort of the traditional companies they may be thinking of and be willing to consider a wider variety of options when they're searching for jobs on The Muse.